Hey, cybersecurity warriors. I'm going to compare IDShield and IdentityForce right here in this video. These are two identity theft protection services, and we'll discuss how they stack up in terms of monitoring. Typically, dark web, credit, and transaction monitoring are what you see here. Also in terms of threat resolution, and finally in terms of course, price. But if you're just looking for that real quick answer, I would say that this is a bit of a tough one for me, but I would probably recommend that you go with IdentityForce. I think that their interface is a little bit more robust, and it's hard for me to say which one has better dark web monitoring, and we'll get to that in a bit, but I think IdentityForce definitely takes the edge there, and we'll discuss the ins and outs a little bit more of, what advantages each one has over the other. I would recommend that over either of these two, you should check out Aura when you look at the amount of money that you're spending with IDShield and IdentityForce and what you're getting. Aura just provides much more comprehensive package at a better price. And, whichever you do choose, make sure to check out my links in the description of this video. I have an excellent Aura discount, and that link will bring you right to it. And I may or may not have anything for IDShield and IdentityForce, but just check out the description of this video. And if I do have anything for you guys there, it'll be right there for you. Let's dive in and see what we get in the dashboard here. So this is the dashboard as you saw a minute ago with IdentityForce, and this is the dashboard with IDShield. And what I'm not a huge fan of with IDShield is that their dashboard has all these different modules that you do have to sign into each and every time. So I'm going to do that right now. Check out the dark web monitoring here, and I need to sign in. Okay, so this is what you get. And basically how these systems work is that you provide them with your personal information, things like email addresses, telephone numbers, credit or debit cards, so on and so forth, quite a few things here. And they will then scan the public web and the dark web for occurrences of your account credentials. They'll send you alerts when they come across those instances so that you can take the appropriate corrective action as necessary. One sort of quick gut check that I'm often coming across with identity theft protection services is how many email addresses they offer, how many email addresses they allow you to monitor, because there are some that kind of give you only 4 or 5, which is not really enough. I monitor 6 in both cases here, which I think, I could certainly put more in, but those are really the main 6 that I use. So then when they do come across instances of your personal information online, you get these dark web alerts. And you can see that there's some other alerts here from IdentityForce. We can talk about that in a bit if it's relevant. The main ones that we're looking at are the email address monitoring alerts here for IdentityForce and the dark web alerts for IDShield. And let's just take a look at what those look like. So in the case of IDShield, this was a breach at Twitter, and my email address was exposed. And if you click on view exposed data, they do give you a full rundown of what was exposed. You can see it was my email address, my name, my screen name on Twitter, and the number of followers I have, which is, a whopping 16. But anyway, something to be proud of, I'm sure. And similarly, what one of those would look like over here on IdentityForce is, just like this. It tells you what they're monitoring. In this case, it was one of my emails. The source type was a data breach. It was some sort of, compilation collection here. And they tell me that my email address and my password were stolen. So I have, long since updated my email address, because this was a 2019 exposure, long before I actually even had IdentityForce, but they did find it and alert me in any case. What I really am not a huge fan of with IDShield is that once you've cleared these alerts, you can't go back and see more. As far as I can tell, I've looked everywhere, and it's a little bit surprising. So I can't actually even say, how many alerts IDShield has come up with versus IdentityForce. I can say that IdentityForce, discluding these two, the sex offender monitoring alert and the smart SSN tracker alert, because those are not really have to do with this one's just telling me if there are any registered sex offenders in my area, and this one is just telling me, records associated with my SSN. Luckily, nothing interesting there. But aside from that, if you remove those two, IdentityForce has found 20 instances of my personal information leaked online on the dark web. And I can't see how many IDShield has found, but I do know that when I opened the account with them, they hadn't found leaks across all of my email addresses. I'm not sure if that's been updated now because I can't go back and verify. IDShield initially wasn't as good as the others. IdentityForce is pretty on par with what I typically see, but I can't say how good IDShield is now that it's had some time to sort of catch up, find more alerts, those types of things. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to give IdentityForce the win by default in that regard. IDShield's baseline plan does offer, credit monitoring, which is nice. They give you, it is only one bureau. Let's check that out here. It is a TransUnion Vantage score. So they're monitoring the TransUnion bureau there. If you want to get 3 bureau credit monitoring, you do need to upgrade. And what I'm not a huge fan of with IDShield's credit monitoring is that you can't actually get the credit reports from them. You do have to head over to annualcreditreport.com, just like you would do without this system anyway. So not hugely helpful in that regard, in my opinion. Both of these do allow you to monitor your social media accounts. So you can see you can add Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube for IDShield, and just Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, no LinkedIn for IdentityForce. So which is nice if basically someone has gotten control of your accounts and they're doing anything inappropriate there. These systems will track that and let you know. And in terms of financial account monitoring, it does look like IDShield allows you to track credit card and bank accounts, transactions, and set limits. And if you go over those, thresholds or limits, you'll get a notification that basically that transaction happened, and you can investigate whether or not it is legitimate. You can do the same right here over at IdentityForce. Nice to have, but a pretty standard offering, I would say. And then also to mention that, for credit monitoring, IdentityForce doesn't offer anything at this tier of the plan. You do have to upgrade to a higher plan in order to get any credit monitoring whatsoever. So IDShield, while their credit monitoring offerings are somewhat lackluster, does sort of beat IdentityForce in that regard. When it comes to threat resolution, IdentityForce does offer $1 million in identity theft insurance, which is, quite standard. Most companies offer that, with the exception of Aura. They offer that or more, depending on the plan that you've selected. Maybe one other that does that. I don't quote me on that. With IDShield, they offer $1 million in reimbursement for unrecovered costs, which is a little bit different wording than identity theft insurance. So I'd have to look into exactly what that covers, but just kind of thinking about it myself, it seems a little bit less encompassing. It seems like they're only going to reimburse you for what you've lost, not necessarily for associated expenses with recovering your identity. I don't want to get too in the woods there because I have not read all the legal jargon and I don't want to make any false claims. Most of these companies are saying $1 million in identity theft insurance, and IDShield does have a slightly different wording there. When you do actually call up both of these companies on the phone, I've found that both really reputable customer support teams. They understand the problems that you're having. They understand you as a customer. They understand the services that they offer. They're not reading from a script, anything like that. They're definitely native English speakers. Very pleasant, very helpful, efficient with your time on the phone, exactly the kind of people that you'd want to be dealing with in a situation where you've lost your wallet or someone's gotten a hold of your bank accounts or something like that. And most of the identity theft protection services I've used do have customer service that's really top notch, just like both of these companies, with the main exception of LifeLock, which is surprisingly well-known identity theft protection service. Their support is just terrible. It is something I look at as a result of that, but these guys are both really quite stellar. Last but not least, I think it's important to take a look at the price of these two services because it is probably a deciding factor for many. So the baseline plan with IDShield, basically everything you've seen here is $14.95 per month, and that is only one credit bureau monitoring. And the baseline plan with IdentityForce, which I've been showing, is $17.95 per month, and that is no credit monitoring whatsoever. And we just walked through what you get with both of those plans. And I just want to compare that with the pricing over at Aura because I really think it's a better deal for most people out there. While their family plan is really an awesome deal, I think for comparison purposes, let's look at the individual plan and billed monthly. That's $15 per month, and if you bill that annually, it's actually $12 per month. And that's before you apply my discount. More on that in 1 second. But you are getting, $1 million in identity theft insurance with Aura. You are getting white glove fraud resolution. You're also getting 3 bureau credit monitoring. You're getting a credit lock, so you can basically block unwanted inquiries into your credit file with the click of a button. You're getting monthly credit scores. You're getting annual credit reports. And that's all contained right within the system, unlike what you get with IDShield. You're getting transaction monitoring, you're getting very thorough dark web monitoring, and you get nice bonuses like antivirus, VPN, password manager. You do get, by the way, password manager and secure storage with IdentityForce as well, and you get malware protection, VPN, and password management with IDShield as well. But Point being that, right off the bat, and if you apply my discount, it's even better. That brings the individual plan down to $12 per month billed monthly, or $9 a month billed annually, at least at the time of filming. And my links in the description will always give you the best deal that I have access to. I'll keep those up to date. And where it really becomes awesome is if you choose their family plan, you can save up to 50% with my discount applied. That gives you coverage of 5 adults. They each get their own accounts and unlimited kids, and up to $5 million identity theft insurance. So basically $1 million per adult. So they're really, have your back there. So Aura is a great system. I highly recommend you check them out. But whichever of these three you do choose, make sure to check out my links in the description of this video for the best deal that I am aware of at any point in time. If you're interested in learning more about Aura, check out my Aura review right here on this channel. Also, if you want to see how, IDShield and Aura compare, or IdentityForce and Aura compare, I have videos for those in this channel as well. So feel free to check those out. Hope you found this helpful, and have a great day.